The first mistake wasn't loud. It was quiet, too quiet to notice. 600 feet beneath the Gulf of Oman, the USS Nevada moved like a whisper. Inside the command deck, the glow of red lights bathed the crew in eerie calm. No one spoke unless absolutely necessary. This was a silent drill, stealth operations under simulated hostile surveillance. One false move and the entire scenario failed. And then, it did. A subtle beeping noise, barely audible, came from the aft data terminal. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Hayes turned sharply. His eyes locked onto the source, a blinking comm light that should have been dead. "Who triggered transmission?" Hayes barked. Across the room, a young sailor, Seaman Keller, froze. His hands hovered over the keyboard, a diagnostic script still on the screen. He turned pale. I thought I was in local loop mode. I didn't... Commander Rachel Donovan approached, calm but with thunder in her presence. "You thought?" she asked, her voice low. "You thought in the middle of a silent drill, you could push a button without confirming the circuit status. It was routine maintenance, ma'am. I didn't think the uplink was active. You're not here to think. You're here to follow protocol." The control room fell into silence again. Tighter this time. Heavier. Donovan didn't yell. She didn't need to. She simply walked to the console, hit a few keys, and killed the transmission. Then she shut down the entire drill. "All stations. End exercise. Full stop. XO. Log the failure." Lieutenant Morton stood behind her. "Log reason. Unauthorized external signal. Source, Seaman Keller." "Yes, ma'am." Keller stood, still, his face burning as the rest of the crew returned to silent tasks, avoiding his eyes, returning to duties without a word. That was worse than yelling, worse than punishment. He wasn't hated. He was doubted. Donovan remained still, then turned. "Mr. Keller, you just told whoever's out there exactly where we are. It was an accident, ma'am. Accidents kill submarines. I suggest you remember that." She walked away. The doors shut behind her with a hiss. 2 decks below, Chief Hayes assigned Keller to emergency air scrubber duty, an exhausting, monotonous task meant for reflection as much as punishment. Scrubbing vents, checking seals, crawling through ducts. Keller didn't complain. He accepted it. But what no one knew, what even Donovan hadn't seen coming, was that this wasn't over. Not even close. 2 hours after the aborted drill, sonar detected something strange. "Commander," said the sonar tech, "I've got a soft ping reflection, not terrain, it's too steady. Repeat scan. No active sweep, ma'am, just passive reflection." Donovan studied the screen. There it was, faint, but definitely mechanical. At 600 feet, almost on their depth. "Could be an Indian vessel," Morton said, "or Russian. Maybe even Iranian shadow drone. Or they picked up our signal and came to say hello." She moved quickly. "All stations. Prep for ultra-silent operations. No heat shifts. Reactor idle." "Suspend all maintenance." Keller was halfway into a vent shaft when the red alert light turned solid. He paused, heart racing. It was just a drill earlier. But this was real. The Nevada reduced its speed to a crawl. Donovan spoke quietly through the comm. "Maintain heading. Do not initiate any sonar. Let's see if they come closer." For 30 minutes they waited. Nothing. Then, an active ping. Sharp, direct, close. "Ma'am," sonar said, "we just got pinged from 1.2 nautical miles out. Unknown vessel. Directional sonar only. They're fishing." Donovan's eyes narrowed. "And we're the bait." Another ping. Closer. "Commander," Hayes said, "if they're positioning like this, they already have us. They're confirming." Donovan didn't respond immediately. She turned to Morton. "Pull reactor logs. I want to know exactly how much thermal noise we leaked after Keller's uplink." Morton tapped at a panel. His face tightened. "About 0.4 megawatts thermal for 9 seconds. Donovan's eyes were ice. "That's more than enough for satellite triangulation." She stood still for a long moment, then turned to her crew. We may have been burned. All because one sailor didn't follow silence protocol. The tension in the room was unbearable. Below deck, Keller remained frozen in the shaft, one hand on a valve. He could hear nothing, but he could feel everything. Something had changed, and this time, he knew. No drill was coming to save him. The USS Nevada floated in darkness. At 600 feet below the surface, the submarine was no longer a vessel. It was prey. The second ping came sharper, closer, more deliberate. Bearing 170. Closing, said Petty Officer Ray at the sonar. Console. It's no longer a passive sweep, ma'am. That's a lock-on attempt. Commander Donovan didn't move. She simply stared at the sonar display like it was speaking directly to her. Lieutenant Morton leaned closer. That contact didn't just stumble onto us. No, Donovan said flatly. They came looking, and now they want us to know they're here. She turned to the crew. Silent protocol, all non-essential systems down. No talking, no sudden maneuvers. We ghost. The room responded in seconds. Power systems dimmed, ventilation slowed, the reactor cycled to low throttle mode. It was like the sub itself took a breath and held it. 2 decks down, Seaman Keller remained in the air scrubber access tunnel, still wedged between condensation-lined pipes and a valve assembly. He had received no updated orders, but the red status lights across the hull told him all he needed to know. This wasn't a simulation anymore. He thought about that moment in the control room, the blinking transmission light. He hadn't meant to activate anything. It had been a basic diagnostics check, something he'd done 20 times in training. But this time it wasn't in training. And now, someone out there knew they existed, and that someone had a torpedo bay. In the control room, sonar lit up again. Second contact, new bearing, 043. Smaller signature, possibly a drone. It's positioning ahead of us. Morton looked to Donovan. They're boxing us in. Or hurting us, she replied. She moved to the periscope station, not to surface, but to pull down the auxiliary acoustic chart. Any surface ships detected? Negative, Ray responded. So we're being stalked, quietly and intentionally, by at least one manned sub and a drone, in international waters, with no communication. Donovan exhaled through her nose. Classic denial maneuver. They push us off our path. If we turn away, they follow and claim we crossed into theirs. If we don't, they escalate. What's the play, ma'am? Morton asked. She paused. We wait, and we make no sound. Not one. Silence returned. Not metaphorical silence, real silence. The kind that makes the blood in your ears sound loud. That makes every inch of your skin alert. That makes even blinking feel dangerous. Keller slowly backed out of the air tunnel, careful not to bump his wrench or shift a pipe. He descended into a small, narrow utility room to begin power isolation as per silent protocol. But as he began to switch off one of the redundant fans, he noticed something, a vibration. He put his hand against the panel. It was subtle, pulsing at intervals. Barely there, but definitely real. He opened the housing and leaned close. That wasn't internal noise, it was acoustic bleed. He checked the diagnostics display. One of the primary coolant control lines, routed just below the main galley level, was vibrating. Minuscule. But if the foreign sub was close enough, and actively listening, it could be heard. Keller hesitated. If he reported it, he'd need to break protocol by opening the channel. That meant making noise. But if he didn't, and it was detected, he grabbed a notebook from the wall panel and scribbled a message in block letters. Possible vibration noise. Coolant, route aft, minor but present. Then he unhooked his safety line and started moving toward the engine access ladder to hand deliver it. Upstairs, Commander Donovan remained stone still. Petty Officer Ray gave another update. Contact shifting, bearing 161, gaining depth. Could be trying to position beneath us. Any propulsion spikes? Negative, slow and controlled. They're testing our nerves. Suddenly, the door to the control room hissed open, softly. Seaman Keller entered, out of breath, notebook in hand. Morton stepped forward to intercept, but Donovan raised a hand. Let him speak. Keller held out the note. Ma'am, I found minor vibration bleed in a coolant line under the galley. Very subtle, might not register, but it might. Donovan read the note. She didn't respond. Instead, she turned to Hayes. Root coolant. Pressure through auxiliary line. Bypass the main galley loop. Isolate the signature. Hayes gave Keller a look, equal parts surprise and respect, then nodded and moved. 30 seconds later, the low vibration stopped. And almost immediately, Ray called out, "Contact has stalled. They're not moving. Drone has repositioned behind us." Donovan gave a small nod. "They lost the trace." She turned to Keller. "Next time you route that through Hayes." "Yes, ma'am, but well done." Keller stood silent, nodding, once before stepping aside. Morton leaned toward Donovan. "You trust him now?" "I trust he understands consequences now." She turned back to the sonar screen. "And now he's got something to lose." The drone made the first move. Just after midnight, sonar reported the shift. The smaller contact, presumed to be an autonomous listening drone, had peeled off from its holding pattern and was closing fast. The larger contact, the presumed enemy, Submarine, held position just outside visual range, like a sniper waiting in the dark. "Ma'am," Petty Officer Ray said, "drone is closing to within 300 yards. Donovan stood behind the sonar console, arms crossed, eyes locked on the data. "No. Ping." "Still passive?" "Completely. No aggression, yet." Lieutenant Morton leaned forward. "It's a test. They want to see if we react. If we do, the other sub logs our maneuvering signature." "And if we don't?" Donovan asked. "They close in further. Maybe even bump us. Or worse, tag us with an acoustic marker." Donovan's jaw flexed. Below decks, Seaman Keller sat in silence outside the auxiliary systems room. His eyes were fixed on the floor, but his mind was elsewhere. Since his mistake, every crew member had treated him with cold professionalism, not cruel, but careful, like he was a volatile wire, and yet, he had bought back a piece of trust. The coolant line discovery had mattered, but he could still feel how fragile it all was. A subtle announcement echoed down the passageway. All hands, remain at stations. Hold for command update. Upstairs, the control room was dead quiet. Donovan turned toward Hayes and Morton. "I want to know what happens if they try to mark us." Morton replied first. "If they attach a beacon to our hull, it's no longer a drill. That's a direct provocation, technically non-lethal, but it means we've been painted for potential escalation. And we can't risk that," Hayes added. "If we surface or fire countermeasures, it confirms everything they suspect. If we do nothing, we risk long-term tracking." Donovan nodded slowly. "They are counting on our restraint." Suddenly, sonar pinged once. Soft, but targeted. "Contact just sent a directed acoustic pulse," Ray called out. "Bearing locked. It's active now." Donovan didn't hesitate. "Ready decoys. Flood forward ballast tanks. Give me 12-degree down pitch on my mark." Hayes turned to her. "We're diving? We're going to ghost," she said. "Drop. Deep, launch decoys behind thermal layers, then stabilize and shut everything down." Morton raised a brow. "Ma'am, that's a full dive and vanish maneuver. We'll be flying blind." "Exactly. If they want to play shadows, let's teach them how the U.S. Navy vanishes." Orders snapped across the room like dry ice breaking. Decoys primed. Ballast tanks flooding. Angle stabilizers ready. Donovan raised her hand. "Mark." The USS Nevada tilted into a nose-down pitch and began a rapid, controlled descent. Within seconds, it passed through the top layer of the thermal gradient. As the sub dropped below 800 feet, everything changed. The noise of the ocean itself became a shield. Thermoclines distorted sonar, muffled signals, turned sharp ears into deaf ghosts. Decoys now, Donovan ordered. 3 pods launched aft, each calibrated to mimic the Nevada's heat, size, and acoustic trail. Kill reactor output. Cut internal systems to minimum. No lights, no fans. The submarine became a void. Nothing moved. In the sonar room, Ray whispered, "Drones locked on decoys, main contact holding. No pursuit yet." Donovan exhaled, but her face remained hard. They don't know if we dove or died. A full hour passed. In the darkened crew quarters, sailors lay awake in bunks, breathing slow, controlling their heartbeats. In the silence, you began to hear things, memories, doubts, regrets. But above all, Keller heard something else. Footsteps. He turned to find Chief Hayes approaching. The older man stared at him in the faint red light. "You've got instincts, Keller," Hayes said gruffly. "Too bad it took a mistake for you to start trusting them." "I just wanted to fix what I broke." Hayes nodded. Donovan saw that. "She trusts me now?" Hayes gave a half smile. "Let's say she's watching, closely." Keller nodded. He would take that. In the control room, time crawled. Then, Ray lifted his head. Contacts pulling back. Drone returning to host. No active ping for 20 minutes. Donovan said nothing. She simply walked to the main comm station and typed, "A single entry into the silent log. Contact withdrawn. No engagement. Threat neutralized through passive maneuvering and disciplined silence." She turned to her crew. "We surface in 3 hours. Until then, no sound. We stay ghosts." Then she looked at Morton. "Once we're out, I want this logged and sent up the chain." "You want to file an official report?" he asked. "No," she said. "I want to file a lesson." By dawn, the ocean was quiet again. The USS Nevada had held her position for hours, submerged, untraceable, and fully silent. The enemy was gone. No more pings, no acoustic trail, no drone signals, only pressure and silence. Commander Rachel Donovan stood in the control room, watching the depth gauge tick upward. Slowly, deliberately, the Nevada ascended toward periscope depth. No one spoke. No one celebrated. They all knew. True victories in submarine warfare are not announced. They're endured. "Ma'am," said Lieutenant Morton, "we're clear. No follow signatures. Skies above look clean. Surface in 6 minutes." Donovan gave a single nod, then walked slowly down the corridor. She didn't go to her quarters, or the briefing room. She went below, to the engine deck. Seaman Keller was there, kneeling beside the auxiliary coolant junction he had once misjudged. His sleeves were rolled up, his hair matted from sweat and recycled air. But he was working, not because anyone had ordered him to, but because it needed to be done. She watched him for a moment in silence. "You missed a spot," she said calmly. Keller turned fast, stood at attention. "Ma'am." At ease. He straightened, his hands trembling slightly. "I didn't know we'd surfaced, ma'am." "We haven't. Not quite." She stepped closer. "You know, in 20 years of silent operations, I've seen rookies panic, lie, break under pressure. I've seen careers sink before they ever left port." He said nothing. "But I've rarely seen one fall, and then rise. Fast enough to steady the boat they shook." Keller swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to cause—" "I know you didn't," she interrupted. "But out here, intentions mean nothing. Outcomes mean everything. Your mistake nearly got us killed. Your actions afterward helped keep us alive." He blinked, unsure if this was judgment or praise. She continued, "That coolant hum you caught, the silent trail it could have left. Most wouldn't have noticed it. You did. You didn't freeze. You didn't hide. You fixed it. And you told the truth." "Yes, ma'am." "Hayes tells me you're good with systems. That true?" "I hope so, ma'am." "Well, you're about to find out," She handed him a folded slip of paper. His eyes scanned it. Reassignment. Sonar Technician Qualification, Level 2. Pending Commander approval. He looked up. I'm recommending you, Donovan said. On one condition. Anything, ma'am. Don't ever think your instincts are above protocol. And don't ever think protocol is a substitute for instincts. You need both. Keller nodded slowly. I understand. I think you do. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Keller. Yes, ma'am? If you ever touch a live, comm channel again during a silent drill, I'll have you scrubbing barnacles with a toothbrush in the Mariana Trench. He grinned. Understood, ma'am. She walked away. Up above, the USS Nevada broke the surface. The sun peeked through clouds. Spray washed over the conning tower as antenna arrays extended, ready to rejoin the surface world. No battles had been fought. No shots had been fired. And yet, it had been a war against panic, against ego, against noise, and they had won, quietly. In the deep, silence is survival. But discipline is more than rules. It's what holds men together when fear tries to rip them apart. Seaman Keller made a mistake. He didn't deny it. He didn't run from it. He owned it and rose through it. In Commander Donovan's place, would you have trusted him again? Or would you have played it safe and left him behind? Tell us in the comments. We want to hear what you would have done. And if stories like this remind you why leadership, discipline, and redemption matter more than ever, subscribe to Authority Watch and hit the bell so you never miss what really happens when silence is the only thing standing between peace and disaster.